So I'm with Ricardo Garcia, international real estate broker in the high end, based out of Madrid, selling property in Spain and Portugal. Background in banking, learned the ropes in terms of the luxury real estate market in Miami. And thanks for coming and joining me. Have I got that right, Ricardo?
Correct. Thank you very much for having me, Alfredo. It's a pleasure.
But let's just go back a little bit because I'm interested to know about your background in Miami. What happened there?
So I was living in London. I lived there for 8 years and working in banking, but I always want to learn the real estate business. I had a passion about real estate since I was really young. So I moved there with my family. And so I went through the process of understanding the brokerage business. In Miami, there is a license needed. So you need to study in a school for a month, take a test. And after you pass that test, you have an exam that is run by the Miami Association of Realtors. And by the time you pass, you got a license. I can give you the full details. Then you have 2 years of probation. And after that, you are a realtor. And after that, after 2 years, you can actually if you want to open a broker.
Okay. And who did you work with when you were in Miami?
So I used to work with the Kais company, which is the largest family-owned independent broker in Florida, run by the Kais family. Is really interesting that currently the president is Cristina Papas, who is the president of the Florida Association of Realtors. So I learned from the best.
And this was high-end properties.
Yeah, as we all do. So at the beginning, you focus and you do a bit of everything. And I still do a bit of everything because sometimes your clients ask you to do a small deal or to do just small investment for their kids or wherever their needs are at the moment. But I try and I focus on the high-end market. So I did a bit of from Miami Beach to Brickell to Star Island, all those fancy houses to small one-bedroom apartment that an investor wanted for the kid or something like that.
Would it be accurate to assume that Miami has more in common with Marbella than Madrid in terms of real estate?
Correct. So Madrid is more European in a way because it's more like small buildings, historical neighborhoods like Bairro Salamanca, Justicia, and then Marbella, you have the big houses, oceanfront, the lifestyle, with all those international buyers that want a second home and want to enjoy the weather and the lifestyle. So that's more Miami. Miami is becoming a little bit more permanent for a lot of people from New York and San Francisco and Chicago, just to mention a few that want to live permanently. Their companies are moving there. That began at the COVID in the COVID phase, and is becoming more a permanent hub for companies rather than just an holiday place.
What's the international market that you deal with in Madrid? The buyers of the high end that you deal with?
My clients here are not different from my clients in Miami. So international buyers that want to have a second home. So I do a lot of international Latin American buyers, say Argentinians, Mexicans, all those nationalities that want and find Madrid a safe place to have investments and where they come normally to by Christmas to do shopping, to spend some nice time with their family. That they normally have relatives here for obvious reasons, and so that they are quite similar. Don't have the North Americans buying as much, probably in the South, and you tell me. But here is a lot of South American clients.
And okay, so then what are we talking about just roughly in terms of, price per square meter in Barrio Salamanca, that sort of thing for a nice high-end?
Yeah. So Barrio Salamanca, as of now, is increasing in value because there is a lot of demand. And we're talking about on the high end, like the tops, you're talking about 14, 15,000 per square meter. But on average, you can get like 10,000, 11,000, like a brand new or refurbished apartment in a historical building, because you are close to Retiro, you have all the high-end stores, and it's really nice neighborhood. That's mainly where I farm. So my area of farming where I like to and I have my clients buying is basically Bairro Salamanca.
And now, since it's a city and it's a capital, and your background was at Savills in Lisbon, And
Yeah.
how does Madrid compare to Lisbon, for example, as a real estate market in the high end?
So the main neighborhoods and the historical neighborhoods where the high end market is, they are quite similar. The big difference is that Lisbon was for many years was not as developed in terms of investment. So since 2013-14, has been a lot of investment, and you go through the city and you see a lot of new developments, small developments, 8, 10, 11, 12, 20 units tops. But you see a lot, and there's a lot of developers, international developers arriving, and have been arriving the last 5 years. And in Madrid is a more mature market. So you have the market is consolidated. You have a few new developments, especially in these neighborhoods, but you don't see as many and as much as in Lisbon.
How do the prices compare in Lisbon versus Madrid?
In fact, it's funny that they are not that different. Like Avenida de Liberdade, Príncipe Real, which has like high-end markets in areas in the center of Lisbon. You're talking about the similar 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, and it varies if you go a bit further. Avenidas Novas, for example, that compares to Chamartín with 6,000-7,000 per square meter. So not that different. The only thing is that Madrid is bigger and you have more options.
Okay, and now let's compare who buys in Lisbon in terms of the high end. Is it similar to Madrid where you have South American buyers, or is it a different demographic?
No, that's an interesting point. So the buyers profile is a bit different. Lisbon, in particular, you have now Lisbon in Portugal. You have now the biggest international buyers are Americans. One driven by the Golden Visa program that you also have in Spain, but more importantly because of the lifestyle that Lisbon offers, that direct flight for 7 hours from the main cities, and the talent that you have. So there is a big community on digital nomads, companies relocating. There's this new group run by an American guy that connects San Francisco to Lisbon because of the similarities and how cheap compared to the US is to run a company, to have talent. Portuguese engineers, software engineers are very, very good, and the market comparison is very attractive. So Americans, and then French have been arriving in Portugal for the last 10 years. You have the French developers, you have a huge community of French people. Lisbon and also the south, Comporta, Alentejo. So you have a lot of French living and doing business.
And further down the south, down in Algarve, that's more your British market, I would imagine.
Correct. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that compares to the south of Spain. A lot of British, some Germans, but mainly British and Irish. The equivalent to Marbella might be the Algarve, Quinta do Lago. So, for example, the biggest broker there is Quinta Property Savills, and they do like a lot of transactions with British, a lot. So big villas. They are breaking records in terms of 10 million, 11 million, 20 million villas. Because again, you are oceanfront, you have better weather because it's south of Portugal, and it's very attractive, and British love it.
Okay, and just to clarify, your amazing pronunciation of the Portuguese places is because Ricardo Garcia is not Spanish, is it? You're Portuguese.
Correct. You see, that's the destiny. My surname is the Spanish name, but I'm Portuguese, and it's not. I'm Portuguese. I lived in Portugal for 27 years until I went to New York to work in banking in 2007. Yeah.
Do you speak Spanish?
I do. I'm improving. It's not perfect.
Are people surprised when they speak to you with a name like Ricardo Garcia and your Latin looks that you sound foreign?
Correct. That's very funny. But I don't. So the thing is, we tend to say that all Portuguese speak Spanish, which is not true, because we understand everything, unless you speak very quickly and there are some words that I don't get. But mainly I understand everything. The only thing is when we talk, and the verbs and the specific words are a bit different. So with practice, I'll get there, but I can have a conversation.
You come from a background of working at Savills, where it's a huge international organization, and now you're sort of more of a solo flyer, just doing the brokerage yourself, based out of Madrid. Are you enjoying this sort of independence more than being part of a larger structure?
Yeah, that's so my I am and I was always a very corporate guy. I used to work for Deloitte in London, so a big organization. And then I went solo because in the US the agents are very like you or your own brand supported by a broker. It's just a platform to give that they give to your own brand. So I went back to Lisbon. I first was the head of real estate for a fund, a servicer that work with distressed assets, and I was having more or less 25 to 30 people. And then I went to Savills to run the residential luxury business in Lisbon. So that's more managing a business and try to look forward and see what the business needs and strategy. And then in solo, by doing a solo business, I like it a lot because I really like the deal. I really like to be close to the clients, to the end client, and making sure that the process is as smooth as possible and they enjoy the process. So I really like to connect with end clients and to build that relationship. I can tell you that the majority of my clients became my friends because we have this very close relationship, and I try to do so. So answer your question, yes, I really enjoy. Of course, there is no structure, there is no big corporation behind, but I build that through my relationships with other agents, and the agent business works a lot like that, building relationships with other agents.
Yeah, because am I right in saying that in the high end, where you get your customers from is very different from the mass market? In the high end, from my understanding, internationally, particularly in your market, where it's a truly international market, there seems to be a lot to do with the relationships that you build in your network. Is that what you find?
Exactly. So that I was always like that, even in Miami, where people talk about all the strategies that you were teach in a broker: cold calling, door knocking, lists of expired listings and everything. But for me, it was always my sphere of influence. I really like to connect with people that I meet in social events. Then I do a bit of events myself. I try to invite people to do some stuff. And then I start connecting with people that buyer knows another buyer, and then by referrals I get my business going, and that was always my strategy. And again, as you said, that's how the high end mainly works. It's not like an advertising that people will knock your door. It happens, social media, but it's not the main driver.
Right, I got you. Let's just quickly talk about commissions, just about roughly speaking. So here in the Costa del Sol, you're looking about 5-ish%, 5, 6, 7, 4, that kind of range. What are they like in Madrid generally?
So I did a transaction now in Barrio Salamanca, was 5%. Normally speaking, it's still 5, but these days you're working with 3, 4, and then some agents still get 5, but the market is putting pressure on the commissions.
And how does that compare to Portugal?
Same thing. 5% normally is the rule, but some special new development when there are bigger units. You're talking about 4, sometimes 3. But again, the market standard is 5, but the market pressure also tells you that sometimes you have to adapt.
And then over the pond to Miami, what are the commissions like there?
6%, as we were discussing offline. So the market is very structured. You have the MLS where it's very clear: 3% for the buyer, 3% for the seller. If you have both, and actually you have to be authorized by both, that you are dealing and representing both sides, you get 6%. Okay. New developments, there are a lot of incentives for agents. Like, for example, the first 20 units, they pay 1% more. Sometimes at the last units, they go up to 10% just to
get rid of
quickly.
it. Okay, yeah, gotcha. And so I'm here in the Marbella area. You obviously have experience with Miami. You deal with international markets in the high end, et cetera, et cetera. Marbella must be on your radar, right?
Yes, correct. So as I said, I just had a client that's very interesting. I just had a client that asked me for some tips because he wants to spend some time in Marbella. I may ask you some holidays. And again, those clients, they see those markets for holidays, and that, from my experience, sometimes they find it, they like it so much that they try to ask me about the market and how the market is and how much is to buy there, and to show them some properties. So yeah, and I already told you that I want to go to Marbella, to Malaga, because Malaga is it's a different area, but it's growing a lot.
Malaga probably
I'm
has a
more,
few things in common with Lisbon, I would say, no, with
yeah,
the sort of the
yeah,
setup, the tech vibe that it's
yes,
getting, the
yes,
proximity to good places as a resort as well as a city.
correct.
The one thing that I've noticed from something that you said that I thought was super interested was what you're saying, where the brokers their are more like their own brand, and then they work under the umbrella of a company, of a brokerage. That's super interesting because that hasn't happened here yet,
Yeah.
but that could well be something that does start evolving, because I'm starting to see some of the agents starting to promote themselves and generate their own business under the umbrella of a brand. Is that something that how does that work in reality? I mean,
So I think will be a natural progression that is happening and happen in Portugal. So and like Spain, in Portugal, the American brands are very well established. Remax, Century 21. So I'm talking about the mass market ones, and Era. They are very well established. You have an office, a store everywhere, and they have thousands and thousands of agents. Okay. For example, Century 21 just did a convention in the largest event complex in Lisbon, and you have like it's a full house full of agents, and actually, again, it's the platform that they give for agents to develop their own brand. They have the Garcia group, the Silva group, or whatever, that normally is a very good agent that start develop their brand, and then sometimes they build a team of 1, 2, 10,
right.
100 agents.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
we are seeing that here. Then we're seeing it with some of the Keller Williams sort of
Yeah, it's the
franchises.
same.
Listen,
Keller Williams. Keller Williams is
yeah.
very, very active in Portugal, for example, very aggressive. And the same you go to the US. For example, a good example is that the profit split between an agent and the broker. In the US, you start with normally a 60-40, 60 for the agent, 40 for the broker. Okay. And you go, if you are a top producer, you can go up to 90% for you and 10 for the broker, because they want your business. Okay. And what they do is they give you the tools, and you are a marketing guy, the marketing of the brand, the reach that the brand has through all the platforms, the money that they invest in all the technology to make the agent lives easier. That's it. Okay. So you don't have that obligation, as I still see here, or I still see in Portugal, of a more corporate type of environment, of going to the office, having the sales meetings. There is a sales meeting, but it's like once a month. It's more like freedom for you. We are here to support you. You give you some tools. We talk about what we can offer you, all the services around insurance, sections, and all that stuff. But you are your own CEO and run your business. Okay.
What's the difference between that and a franchise, for example? Just my own ignorance. So
No,
I get
the franchise works the same. So they open a franchise, and then the franchise that replicates the same as the broker. So same structure. I am the franchise. I am the guy that runs. I hire tons of agents. I have a lot of obligations to hire agents. So to open a store, I don't know the numbers by heart, but I think if you want to open a Remax or a City 21 store, you have to start have like 6 or 10 agents just to start, because it's a business of a volume business, because they pay the training fees, they pay the everything. It's a volume business, and again, statistically speaking, I don't know now, but in Miami, for example, or in the US, so 85% of the new agents, they quit on the first year.
okay.
Because there is not a lot of entry barriers. But then if you're not good, you're not going to sell. You can do the odd sale, but it's not easy.
Am I right in saying
Okay.
that in this setup where you have like the almost like independent agents working under the umbrella of a brokerage, that quite often they're expected to generate their own leads?
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
That's very different here. The agency
That's
produces
a
the leads.
really interesting point. For example, so I remember when I was in Miami, at a certain point I started getting leads from the broker, not a lot, but like specific clients that they want to they knew that I was a good agent, that they will trust me. But at the beginning, zero leads. So here you have, go knock doors, work your sphere. So they give you the tools and they give you the strategy, but you have to do your own thing. And like here, I don't know here as well as I do in Lisbon. In Lisbon, yeah, the broker gives you leads. You have to be in the office for a certain period. they call escalas, like 2 or 3 times a week. You have to be there 6 hours because every call will go for you, every lead. So it's a completely different business. But funny enough, and as we're saying that the market is very fragmented in Marbella, in Madrid, I feel the same. So the Sotheby's, the Keller Williams, but the luxury market is Sotheby's, Douglas Elliman, Compass. They are not here, and they are not established. Or if they are, Sotheby's is, for example, they have 1 or 2 offices, and that's it, in small offices. In Portugal, just Sotheby's alone has like 10 offices or 12 offices. Okay, so the international American brands are still not very established, and they are not. I think normally the market will evolve for that, but as of now, it's not. It's very fragmented. Small shops, Spanish shops, and independent.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, Ricardo,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
different.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time. It's been super enlightening, and
Yeah.
I look forward
Yeah.
to seeing you when you come down to this area over here. We can show you around a
No,
little
my
bit.
pleasure. That's very interesting, and I want to learn from you, and you're going to show me the market.
For
I'm
sure.
sure I'm going to learn a lot as well. Thank you very much. It's my
All right.
pleasure.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any chance you could switch your screen, your camera to be horizontal?
Like this?
It's no big deal.
Better?
No, not vertical.